Hi, welcome to a new video. In this video, we'll be making this short Bubu Kaftan. If this is something you like, keep watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new post. Thank you. Now, because of the length of the sleeve on this style, as you can see from the thumbnail and the wideness, you ideally use 3 yards for this. But I just have leftover fabric that is like 1.30 yards, and that's what I'll be using for this style. So I'll be having some cut and joins in mine, and it wouldn't be as wide, but you get the concept. Also, the name of this fabric is Mikado fabric. Now, as you can see, I've gone ahead to draw my starting line, which is going to serve as my shoulder and sleeve line. And the measurement for that area is 17 inches. So I'm just going to be using all of it because ideally I should be having about 23 inches for this sleeve. But I just have, I think, 16 or 17. Now, from my starting line, I'm going to be coming down by my sleeve wideness, and I used 11 inches because I wanted my sleeve to be 10 inches. I'm going to come down to my half length line. This bubu is just going to be straight. So whatever you have on any point, you just go down with it. I added my hip measurement an extra 3 inches because that is all I have for this fabric. I would have done more, but that is all I have. So this is 14 inches, and I'm just marking it down to the end of this bubu. After marking, I'm just trying to use my free hand to connect so it will be easy for me to cut, and I'm connecting this until I get to where I want my sleeve to stop. As you can see, there's a line there. Now, for the wideness of my neck, that's the neck width, I'm going to be using 3.5 inches. So I'm just marking 3.5 inches. As you can see, I'm not going to be cutting it. I just marked it. And then I came down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slope. Sorry, I didn't know it wasn't showing on the camera. Now, after getting my shoulder slope, I decided to add 1 extra inch to that my sleeve length because I wanted the sleeve to be a little bit wider. So in total, I had 11 inches for my sleeve. And from the 1 inches I got for my shoulder slope, I just used the ruler to connect to the 3.5 for my neckline. So this is what it looks like right now. I forgot to mention, but this fabric was folded in 4. So I'm cutting for the front and the back together. I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. And because my fabric is 1.5, I just folded it from the length of the Mikado instead of the yardage. So if you're using 3 yards, use the yardage. I'm done cutting out this fabric, and as you can see, I'm removing the back piece. And now I'll be left with just one piece, which is going to serve as my front. So I'm going ahead to mark the width, which is 3.5 inches. And for the neck depth, I use 8 inches. Now from the 8 inches, I went out by 0.5 inch and I marked a point there. I got my ruler and then I connected from the neck width to that 0.5 inches. When you mark the 0.5 inches, you leave a horizontal line there. So I got to the 8 inches and then I went in to the 0.5 inches. I'll open it up so you see what it looks like. This is exactly what you're going to be getting by the time you are done cutting it. If you measure that area, it will give you 1 inch. Now on the wrong side, I just placed a tiny bit of interfacing because I want that area to be a little bit hard. Now I'll be using this Ankara for the neck, and this Ankara is about 13 inches long and 2 inches wide on fold. It doesn't have to be up to 13 inches. Just make sure it is longer than your neck length, and also iron an interfacing on it. Remember, my neck length is 8 inches. Remember, this Ankara is on fold, so the part that opens, there's one part that opens and there's one part that is like closed. You're going to be placing the part that opens on the neckline and you're going to be pinning it down just like I'm doing. Please watch carefully. You're going to pin it round the V neckline, and then I'm just marking 1/2 inch. You're going to sew by 1/2 inch. I'm trying to indicate using my chalk so it will be easy for me to sew. Now, after the V, you're just going to still mark 1/2 inch. You're going to sew from that 1/2 inch after the V neckline. After sewing on my machine, as you can see, I used a white thread so you can be able to see. As you can see, the sewing extended by 1/2 inch after the neckline, as you can see. So you're just going to trim that area a little bit. You're just going to slash it. Just slash it to where that your 1/2 inch that you sewed stop. I hope this makes sense. Please just watch what I'm doing carefully. See how I'm slashing it carefully. And from there, you're just going to fold it inside. You're going to turn it over and then you're going to fold it inside. Please, guys, just watch what I'm doing. I'm not exactly sure how to explain this. I decided to turn this to the wrong side so you can see this is what the little slash looks like. So you're going to turn it over like this, bring it out to the wrong side. So this is exactly how it is going to look on the wrong side by the time you are done turning it. And this is what it will look like on the right side. Now I'm going to turn this over to the right side and iron it, give it a very good press. So I'll be very sure it is flat. As you can see, this is looking very nice already, but I'm just going to iron thoroughly. Now after ironing, you're going to turn it over to the wrong side and you're going to take that little bit of Mikado and you're going to stitch it together with this Ankara so it will stay very neatly. I've gone ahead to stitch and this is what it looks like. Now I'm just going to trim it out. And then you can use your serger to serge around it so it gives it a very clean and neat finish. Now that I've gotten my neckline for the front, I'll be using this neckline for the front to cut out the back neckline. So I'm going to be placing this on top of the back fabric. Make sure they are well aligned. Now I'm going to take my chalk and I'm going to mark the exact neckline for the front. So after marking it, I'm going to take out the front fabric and then I came out by half an inch. Remember, I'll be using a facing for this. So I'm going to use half an inch to sew the facing. So I reduced the neck width by half an inch so that by the time I'm done turning it, it will be the exact neckline for the front. I hope this makes sense. So I'm just trying to cut out the facing for the back, just like we usually do. Place a piece of fabric and trace the exact neckline. I'm going to place the facing right side, and I'm going to go and sew by half an inch, and then I'm going to top sew it. This is exactly what it looks like after I was done ironing. The next thing to do is to place the fabric right side facing right side, the front and the back. I'm going to be using the facing for the back to cross over to the right and sew it just like we usually do, just to give it like a very neat inseam finish. I'm going to pin it down so it will be neat, and I'm going to sew from the beginning to the end. I'll repeat the exact same thing. Use the facing for the back to cover the front part. Cover it. Then you go ahead to pin it down. And then you're going to sew from the neckline to the end of what I have. Just like so. Half an inch. After I was done, I've gone ahead to serge it, and this is what it looks like. This fabric frays a lot, so it makes sense to serge as you're sewing. Now I'm just going to be bringing it out. So this is exactly what it looks like. As you can see, it gave it that nice inseam finish. I just went ahead to trim out the excess on that area so it will be very flat when I'm done ironing. So this is how neat it came out. For the back facing, you can go ahead to tack it or use hemming gum so it will lay very flat. I used hemming gum. As you can see, it has stayed flat. So the next thing to do is to iron neatly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, my fabric was not enough to make the sleeve of this style to be long. So I'm just going to cut and add an extra piece of fabric. Before doing that, I'm measuring from the center back to the sleeve. I have exactly 18 inches. And I've gone ahead to cut out a piece of fabric, two pieces, because I'll be adding one to both sides of the sleeve. This fabric is about 8 inches wide. So it is, 8 inches long. Sorry, I want this fabric to be 8 inches long because I want the full sleeve minus the Ankara to be about 24 inches. I've gone ahead to join it, and this is what it looks like. I also went ahead to serge it, that's overlock it. Repeat this for the other sleeves, and it's time to add my Ankara. Now for the Ankara, make sure the Ankara is as long as the length of your sleeve. And then for the wideness, I'm using 3.5 inches on fold. So that is what it looks like. I also used interfacing because I wanted it to have a little bit of structure. Now I'll go ahead to sew by half an inch, and after I was done, this is what it looks like. You're almost done with this style. The last thing to do is to add the Ankara detailing that is on the side of this bubu. You can choose to put it on whatever side you actually like your detail to be, but I put mine on the left side. Now I'm going to measure where I want this detail to be, and I want it to be on my waistline. That's my half length, which is 16.5 inches. I'm using a yellow chalk because I don't want, this is the front of this fabric, and I don't want it to stain it. And also from the side, I came out by 3 inches. That's where I want to place the Ankara detail. So as you can see, I'm just using a yellow chalk to mark that area, so that when I place the detail on it, it will come out very neat, be on a straight line. Now for the Ankara detail, the length is 13 inches, while the width is 12 inches. But please note that I have not folded it. So I'll be folding them in by, I think, half an inch on the top and 1 inch on the side. So I've gone ahead to iron an interfacing on it. As you can see, I'm using hemming gum to fold the edges in, so it will be very, very neat. After I was done, the length was 11 inches and the wideness 8.5 inches. Remember, you can choose to make yours as long or as wide as you want. This is actually an area where you can freestyle, depending on your preference. Now I'm just placing this on the area that I've marked before. That's my half length waist and 3 inches from the outer part of this. I'm using a hemming gum to place it under and then iron it so it will be neat on its own before I go ahead to use my machine to sew it round. After I was done sewing it round, this is what it looks like. We're almost done with this style. The next thing to do is to place them, make sure they are right side facing each other. And all the areas are well aligned, like the sleeve. Make sure they are aligned. And then you can go to your machine to sew using half an inch or 1 inch, depending on whatever you use as your sewing allowance. I used half an inch because this fabric is not very wide, as you can tell. I've also gone ahead to serge the edges because this fabric frills a lot. After I was done, this is what it looks like. So now you're just going to go ahead, give it a good press, and then you're going to hem the bottom part of this area, depending on your preference on how long you want your fabric to be, your style to be, sorry. After I was done, this is exactly what it looks like. It came out nice, if I do say so myself. So please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new post. Also, if there's something you do not understand, please leave your question in the comment section. Thank you, and I'll be sure to reply. Bye, see you in my next video.